Hey guys, Max Convexity here. Hope everyone's having a great afternoon. We had 2 out of 3 winners on these Defiance put selling funds, these option strategy funds. And I guess TRES was a winner today. So we were actually 3 out of 4 today. All right. QQQI was going for $1.7 million. It ended up losing $400,000. Unfortunately, I wish that wouldn't have happened. The other ones look good. IWMY was going for $1 million. They made $576,000. JEPY was going for $574,000. They made $283,000. Let's look at TRES. All right, TRES looks like they made about $5,000. That's the profit and loss graph at expiration. Here's the profit and loss graph now. So right now you can see where, well, let me try to zoom in a little bit more. You can see we're right about where they think we should make about $5,500, or this position ought to be worth about $5,500 more than we paid for it, which is good, which is awesome. It's these 780 calls that we got for $1.10 that are now $1.66 that are really helping us out. So we have twice as many of those as we do. We have some short calls, which is good news. We sold them for $1.08, but they're $1.78. So we're 70 cents in the hole. They're actually $1.81 for us. So we're actually that far in the hole, but because we have twice as many long options, we have a nice profit right now. Now the valley of death, what happens as time goes by, the valley of death expands. Here it is Monday, that's Tuesday. There's Wednesday. There's Thursday. Okay, so that takes us to next week. Now, hopefully, the price will keep moving. Hopefully, we'll get the move from the price that we're looking for. Maybe bonds will trade at 96, 97, 98, something like that. Boy, that'd be nice. That would sure be nice. If you look on this, if you look at a back test, they do have a small edge on this trade. It's 78 cents profit per day. That's over 582 tries. It's profitable about half the time. It's where you sell the at-the-money straddle and you buy the out-of-the-money option. So it's just, you're buying an out-of-the-money strangle. An out-of-the-money call, an out-of-the-money put. You buy it together, it's a strangle. The only catch to this trade is you do the strangle that you buy twice as many times as you sell. So you don't collect any premium. This isn't a premium collecting strategy like all the other Yield Max and Defiance funds that I know of, or not all the Defiance funds. They have some that are just normal funds, but all the other option strategy funds are premium collection, premium collection strategies. This one is not. If you look at straddle-strangle swap and you Google it, it shows you this trade. Same trade, but where you don't have double the longs as short. You're short a call and a put, and then you're long call and a put in a further out expiration, right? So you run this one. That last one had 78 cents. So, this one doesn't have as much edge as that last one. But this is what I would consider more typical, because this premium collected, this is a positive number. So this is the kind of fund, if they ran a strategy like this, they could pay you a dividend out of this premium collected. The other way they're running it, there's no premium collected to pay you a dividend out of. I mean, that it's going to have to be something different, because they're actually spending extrinsic on this trade. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, this trade, even though they don't collect any premium, they end up a little better by about 10 cents, from 69 to 78. 9 cents, I should say. And then what else I like about this strategy is, look, the largest profit was $1,800, and that's in February 2020. Of course, the largest loss was in March of 2020. We remember what happened in February and March of 2020. it can make an outsized profit, because think about this. This is a tiny trade. These trades, this trade is, I'm trying to think how big it is. It's, well, it depends on how far the strikes are. It's maybe, let's look over here. Let's simulate it this way. Well, this is with all the lots they did. It's a big trade. Anyway, it's not a huge trade. So to have a $2,800 winner, what happened probably that week is bonds moved up, probably as a flight to safety, 10% or something, and the strategy was a gigantic winner because it wins on outlier moves. I like the concept of it, for sure. I like the concept of it. Here's a Salesforce trade I'm going to simulate. Don't do this with real money. This is just for research. I'm not doing this with real money. But it's interesting because it's the same kind of trade we've been talking about. It's the same kind of trade TRES does. It's a straddle-strangle swap with the ratio strangles. The double the amounts of longs as we have shorts. So they've sold the straddle, which is selling the 295 put and the 292 call. So one of those is $10.55 and one's $10.45. So together they're $20.90. So this trade, you sell that straddle, you bring in $20.90, and then you buy the wings, or you buy the out of the money call, which is $9.60, and the out of the money put, which is $10.25. Those two together make a strangle. So you buy the strangle. So the strangle cost about what the straddle cost, except the strangle, there's twice as many of them. So it is a debit trade. It would cost $1,800 to put this trade on in real life. And what you're looking for is an outlier move. You're looking for a 20% move up or something, like we saw this week. Look at Square. Look at look at Nvidia. The theory is, in theory, if you don't get the move, the options you sold should help pay for the options that you bought. But in practice, sometimes what happens is after earnings come out, the volatility goes down quite a bit, and then you get a pretty big valley of death. And if you don't get your move by the end of the week, you can end up losing, $500 or $1,000. I did this on Walmart once and lost like $900, but I'd hit it 3 times in a row before that. I hit Zscaler. I hit Lululemon big for almost $3,000. But I hit Zscaler and I hit another one or two. So I was hot with these. But anyway, then I hit Walmart and lost. They aren't bulletproof, but if you can pick a stock that's going to have an earnings blowout, that's the idea. But the other idea is the whole concept of the trade when it involves earnings is because you're selling in the week that the earnings is coming out. Then as soon as the earnings are released, that week's volatility, the IV is going to go down. And the play is you're hoping the IV in that week goes down at a faster rate than the IV in the next week goes down. So that's the calendarized part of the strategy, however you want to look at it. But we'll look at that CRM trade. They have earnings Wednesday after the bell. We'll simulate it and see how it would have done, and see how to just kind of how they work and stuff. I wish I would have simulated one on Nvidia. It would have been awesome. Speaking of Zscaler, they also have earnings next week. Let me just show you how to make one of these, how to construct one of these ratio straddle-strangle swaps. Okay, what you can do, you can go to the option strat, or probably any option software has built in. I just go to the double diagonal to start. Thinkorswim also has. I used to do it the same way on Thinkorswim. I used to go to the double diagonal, and then I used to just add a position to the longs. But on this one, it's the same thing. They give you a double diagonal, and I like to move the sold strikes together to be a straddle, same strike. They show you where they're both strangles, where they sell a strangle in the near week and buy a strangle, and that's a way to do it too. That's fine. But we'll set up a earnings trade for Zscaler. I'll show you how I would do it. So then all I do is you have to go here and you have to turn that on to and turn that on to. Oh shoot, you have to unlink it from the, no, that's fine. Okay, so then you have to go, all right, so you get a profit loss graph that looks something like that. So you can actually put this on. The way I have this thing on is at a credit right now. But in real life, I probably would do it. I'd probably put these a little bit closer. Say this isn't a real life trade. Don't go doing this. But that's usually the way I do it, like that. Yeah. You spend more like 2,000, but if you can get a 20% move in either direction, you can make about 2,000. And that Nvidia move was more like, I mean, and sometimes it goes further. That Lululemon trade, yeah, that was so badass when that happened, but I don't think it went as far as Nvidia did. Anyway, those trades are outliers when you hit those. I was lucky. It was my very first time I'd done a straddle-strangle swap. One of the first trades I made in years when I first started trading again back in 2020. And well, this was actually in the summer of or actually in October of 2021, but maybe September. But Lululemon was all the rage back then, or it was before that too. But anyway, and that thing, it was bullish. It was a great report, and it blew through on the upside. But it was awesome. If you know which way another way to do this is you can exclude the puts. If you want to just make it a one-way play, you can do a trade like that. So what you're doing is you're selling the 235 call, and that costs $13, and so you're bringing that $13 in, and you're doing that to finance the purchase of this call, and this call expires a week later, and you're buying two of them. So I mean, but that's another way to do it if you know which if you just want to play one side of the earnings trade. That's another way to do it. All right, guys. Well, I'll be back next week with more earnings trades. I love to talk about earnings trades. Let's put these back on. We'll see how all these trades would have done. They're fun. I'm going to save that Z-Skiller trade. I don't know if I do that in real life. $2,000 is a lot to spend. I just wanted to show how these are constructed. I'm trying to show you guys the nuts and bolts of how it goes together. Probably what's going to happen after earnings come out, volatility is going to drop. Volatility is obviously going to drop. We're hoping it drops on the near expiration cycle faster than it on the far expiration cycle. This can't simulate that. This drops it both equally on different cycles. It drops them both equally, but it's pretty realistic to what happens. Usually, these trades look great before earnings come out, and then as soon as earnings come out, you get a big valley of death in here. And if you don't get your move, they make you put the 2,200. That's the debit. I don't really think you'll lose that much. Not financial advice, but you can. Mathematically, you can lose that much. But typically, whenever you miss it, you lose about half of the debit. That's my experience. On Walmart, I lost about $750, maybe $800, and I think it was a $1,500 debit. On Lululemon, it was like a $2,000 debit or $2,100 debit. It was a huge debit, so I didn't make that much on a percentage basis. I only made $3,000, but when you risk $2,000, it's not that big of a deal. Even though probably at the worst case, if it wouldn't have moved at all, I would have ended up getting out of it for about a $1,000 loss. But still, risking $1,000 and making $3,000 is nothing special. It is cool that it was covered both ways, because it could have gone down that far also, and I would have still. It's cool because you don't have to have any clue to which way it's going. You just play both ways. But that's why it doesn't have an edge also. And also it doesn't have an edge mainly because you're long more options than you're short. So you're spending more extrinsic premium than you're bringing in. All right, guys. Well, I'll let you go. I'll be back Sunday night, and we'll talk about the profit boxes and how we're set up for next week. and we'll probably take another look at Tress, and we'll see what else is up. All right, guys, take care. Have a nice weekend.